Oof, man, I sat and I watched the game. I watched the halftime thing. It was the kids at UT Dallas going to on a European tour. I I don't know why they do stuff like that. Um, travel is definitely overrated and something that human beings should you know if you don't need to travel, it's something you shouldn't do a lot of. Um, Excessive and compulsive movement about the planet is not healthy for the collective human psyche. Is not healthy for the environment, and it's not healthy for the it's just not healthy in a lot of ways. The main cause of global warming and disease and stress is aggressive human relative interactive toxic industrialized behavior. It's discussed extensively in the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. Something we really need to stop. I mean, if you need to do something, do it. If you don't, why the fuck are you doing it? Um, uh, when people around you are being exceedingly aggressive, violent, and irrational, you know, trying to do it to fit in is not rational. It's both the people looked at us as if we were both quiet and saying someday my name and hers, or you can go shopping and get on the bus stop and underneath the umbrella. Um, Shopping is definitely irrational. Share, care, give, and accordance need built to last. We've got to learn to eliminate uh, philanthropy and economic conflict and competition and comparisons. We got to learn to share, care, give, and accordance need built to last. Do things right, especially with shelter, clothing, yes, and when you do something, do it really good and really right. Um, what to do, what to do. Leaving a legacy of landfills and dumpsters and Linda told me that then it's costing too much to recycle, so they're not doing it anymore. Well, then you're going to have to share a caregiver. Of course, need built to last. Need disposable diaper, anything, right? Um, uh, Diapers. Yeah, that's it. We need more time and we need more intelligence. Disposable diapers are something that are very, 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 very. Um, that's something that human beings came up with. Disposable diaper is not much older than the ATM and the gas station, right? You know what I'm saying? So, human beings, human beings, human beings, human beings. There's a lot of things that we have that we've been doing here for the last 40 or 50 years that they're not a tradition. They need to stop. Prostitution needs to be something in this world that you always it was nothing you ever loved or did love. Advertising is and mechanized advertising is something that's very um, it's for brain chemical addiction and influential manipulation. It's not reality. It's not based on reality. It's based on rational, fallacy and insanity. And well, philanthropy, money. Richard Dawkins talks about it. The phenomenon of money is something that's very, very new to human existence and understanding. Hundreds of thousands of years. There was no money. And then when people incorporate it into a lot of things in the Gospels, it's like, how do you know the people that have the biggest bank in the world that turned Jesus into a cartoon character, wrote down the Bible? How do you know they're translating it properly? How do you know they're as intelligent as King Solomon or myself, you know. So you just got to understand, you know, when you're doing something, you have to ask yourself, you know, very intelligent quantitative questions. Why am I doing this? Is this necessary? Is this intelligent? Is this healthy? Is this good for my wife? Is this good for my kids? You know, like I used to write my little notes to Patrick when I was at ASU. You know, sit down, you know, I'd rather be spending time with you, but I'm required by these people to do this. I'm not happy with it. I didn't like it when I was in the military. Like when I sat down in the military with the rest of the guys at the end of, said, you know, it's weird because I'm going to I miss a lot of you guys. You know, I became very attached and liked him, you know, Henry and a lot of the other guys. I said, you know, it's weird. I didn't think I was going to miss anybody or miss anything from this stupid hell we went through. I said, but what we went through, you know, was the way they treat people that are incarcerated. And we didn't do it. Our only crime was being poor. You know, we didn't do anything wrong. But the way they treat you in the military, they treat you like you're being incarcerated, like they do in incarceration. It's indoctrination for institutionalization, and then you're incarcerated. I remember that pissed me off when they made us pay the guy when they shaved our heads. And we went back again and they made us pay him again. I was like, I could have, you guys require this from me. You know, the guy just shaved my head and you make me pay him $8. No. I was pissed. I was like, wait a minute. You required I came in here and you shaved my head. You had a man take a pair of clippers and shave off all my hair, and then I paid him $8 of my quote salary, okay, for him to do it. You know, because they were getting you're going to have to do this. You have to stay within reg. You have to have your hair suitable to our standards, and then you have to pay money to do it. So you're being institutionalized, indoctrinated, and then incarcerated, you know. And I remember thinking it when they did. I was like, well, the fuckers, man, they shaved my head off and I had to just pay this rude asshole $8 for doing it. So I was like, that's bullshit, man. You should pay me for touching my beautiful head. You're funny. I know. But, you know, it's quite insane, you know, what human beings accept, what they do, and what they consider, you know, intelligent or successful. I've watched you guys and listened to you talk, and it's very painful and it's very disturbing. But we have the technology now, and I know things, you know, are radically changing at a much more rapid rate in technological processing and understanding stuff than anything that the people that are doing it think is happening with the technology. I know the technology is becoming better. You know, it's disturbing when I sit and I watch stuff on Fox News, what's happening in Iran, what's happening in the Ukraine, what's happening in Russia, you know, all this mass murder. You know, they said it, you know, this, God, gravy, you know. What happened in Ukraine this last year, that's, and then makes you wonder about the numbers they gave us about Iraq and Iran and, you know, other places and stuff. Just how many people do these oil producing countries mass murder when they get into their little fits of, you know, scientific, you know, this is population control, indoctrination. It's just, you know, how many people are just abused and mass murdered over and over and over and over and over. You know, and the violent sex cult behavior. And you look at the perpetuation of the brain activity and the consistency in the brain activity of, you know, you get people in violent sexual behaviors trying to rape and eradicate other people off the face of the planet. And so you realize that, you know, the people in China who think they're better than the Mongolians, you know, and you're like, really? You sure about that? You think you're superior intellectually to the barbarians and you act just like them, you know. Just because you do it out of a petri dish instead of in a bedroom doesn't make it any different, you psychotic little fucking pervert. You play ball like a pervert. You coach ball like a pervert. And it's true. That's so, because I know. Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize that I was always more intelligent than most people. I had, you know, some, I think it's because I was always such a nice person, and I've always been such a nice person that I didn't really. Well, I did get that in the service, Miriam, with the stuff with what happened with Sergeant Brown and all the. It happened to me everywhere I went and everything. Yeah. Um, uh, I did run into those kind of situations all the time. I assess things on the fly, more astutely and intelligently than award-winning scientists and four-star generals and admirals and politicians. Yeah, I see. You see what you just said. You see what you did. Why are you doing that? Okay. And you talk in prayer and you go, yeah, Manuelito. Yeah, the man where his family was, mass murdered at Canyon de Save for people looking for gold, and then forced marched to Fort Sumner, and then walked back, and many died walking back home. But it was better to die walking back home than it was to die being institutionalized, indoctrinated, and incarcerated, right? And that man has more intelligence, more wisdom, and more scientific astute understanding through his religious traditions seen as superstition than a lot of people that sit down and think they're being logical when they're manipulating people with make-believe money, science projects, and egotistical over self-exaggeration of their perception, right? Then Friedrich Lieberich, and Nietzsche. Oh God, Nietzsche. And some of those others, those egomaniacs. Justification through faith. What is faith to you? What is faith to you? Yeah. Are you living the applied physics of Lord's Prayer? Are you standing up to do it without fear? Or are you kissing ass to the nobles and fucking nuns? One guy said they called him a nun fucker. Justification through faith. Okay, kiss ass to the nobles, fuck nuns, and don't tell them that everything they do with their class warfare and their feudal caste systems is completely wrong and is the Antichrist, and then completely, they're sitting there looking at all those castles all across Germany and stuff like that. And I don't have any, my memories of King David, Moses, there's little memories of in getting out of there and never going back. He liked being in mountains. He liked being around Zephora way more than he did anything that he ever had to deal with in Egypt. Yeah, he didn't like his life in Egypt. As soon as that was gone, and he became a quote Bedouin. He loved his life, and he had a real wife. First time in his life. And he was, how old was he? So he was born in this summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before, right? I've been to paradise, never been to me. Yeah, Isaiah's really lighting it up here in the second half. I'm watching the videotape of the basketball game. But, shit, burgers and fries, man. Insanity. Watching the little kids play basketball. I am working on it diligently every day to completely eradicate the delusions of philanthropy and scientific, superiority and research, and all the insane things we do. Social cricket, what's that? Okay. I don't know. I don't know what people do. They do the craziest fucking things for extortion, exploitation, hold foods hostage, go out, get your money together, go have a good time, distract yourself, drink some of the booze, bring the kids, make sure they grow up to be as distracted and stupid as the adults. Yeah. This is really depressing. Enjoy the Zen. We'll be right back. Wow. Well, this is Dallas. Okay. Wow. Yeah. My poor Patrick, man. You know. He spent his whole life in Phoenix, Oklahoma City, Dallas, and now Indianapolis. Yeah, no wonder the kid can't focus and keep his head straight, Noah, and then we got it. Well, it was tribalism and racial and secular insult, but you had a little quiet when we lived up in Sheridan, where you could just get away from it all and kind of think, get out in nature. And the same when we lived in Cochise County's hard because of all the science, the technology, and the mind fucking, but my kids were pretty good. Yeah. And here they have certain kind of scientific things set up so the scientists can do their little thing. It's hard being same with Cochise County, it's hard being in the epicenter of the disgustingness of it. I told you that when we went to Phoenix, and then me and Patrick could come back home, visit my sister and my brother-in-law and stuff. And it was like you went back in time to people all worried about the 666 mark of the beast and the world will be destroyed and all that crazy shit from the crazy fucker from Tulsa. When I was talking to Jesus and listening to transistor radio when I was a kid. Jesus, I don't want there to be nuclear fire. I want my parents to die. Little Earl, if your parents die, you'll die too. Don't talk to me like I'm all grown up, Jesus. I'm scared. It was cute. But yeah, that's scary stuff. It's creepy stuff, And doing and saying creepy stuff when we're human beings, and there doesn't have to be all this creepy stuff going on. And making jokes about it for mobsters doing, Jimmy's John's, sandwiches and stuff. It just doesn't make any sense to be holding food hostage and making jokes about mass murderers, getting upset because people are paying more make-believe money for other people's sandwiches than his, It's wrong. It's bad thinking. It causes bad brain activity, like Roger Ramjet and Speed Racer and keeps Bridle and Chim Chim out of the trunk, And, all this bad brain activity, it affects everybody. It affects all of us, all these irrational, opulent houses, like that old Tom Cruise, Church of Scientology, and his old house is falling apart from lack of maintenance. So, well, you sure did the science on that one there, Jimmy's Johns, didn't you? Wow. Right. I don't have any make-believe money. If I was given make-believe money without any strings, back in 2020 and later before they kicked me off Facebook for good, I'd had, like I told you, I'd gone to Silver City, got the best contractors and stuff. We would have built adobe houses, and we'd all work together on mine outside, and then we'd pass around the box bowls we stayed in to people while we built homes for everybody else, and then just tried to do it as much as we could to the utmost degree till the rest of the rich people in the world stood up for Lord's Prayer so we could all get caught up, but it didn't happen. Well, you try to lead by example, but apparently the only thing that people in this general vicinity of military might and brilliance and science and top military intel and stuff like that, only is like that whole thing, Ted's little thing on the wall, and they're about John McCain. One's completely worthless. They can always serve as a bad example, right? So, there you go. Earl, Papa don't. All right, Papa don't take no mess. All right, guys, I love you. I'm gonna go finish watching the kids play some ball. Goofy kids, they're so distracted. But they're just like everybody else. Being distracted. Constant distraction. So nobody has to think about the mass murder of their relatives because of denying the Lord's Prayer. I cried when Coach East died. Yeah, I remember watching that movie when I was a kid. Is that Chi-Town? Yeah. I don't know where it is, but the city in it is just like, oh God, that'd be a horrible place to have to grow up and live and be raised. I was born in, raised in Las Cruces, the place where all the scientists across the mountain threaten to blow everybody up if we can't screw each other in the head with money to feel powerful. So yeah, I guess it's not much growing up in Detroit or Chicago, huh? The old Manhattan Project place. There you go, Trent. No, he didn't. Okay, I'm watching the game. It happened like 2 days ago. Okay, or actually 4. Okay, guys, I love you. All right, peace out.